And I wanted to come on today just to have a chat around being freed up and its connection to freedom, hair, and skin, and just a mindset of freedom, as much self-administered freedom as we can muster. So if you're interested in this conversation, stay tuned. A personal trainer. Those are two of the ways I operate out here. Also a lover of the garden and movement. On this channel, I love to share some of my journey of radical self-acceptance, really deeply observing, appreciating, celebrating, and being creative with the features that I have been divinely assigned while out here on the earth plane. And yeah, that's what I love to share on this channel. I also love to share 3 lifestyle practices, leverage lifestyle practices. Greetings, Creework, babe. Greetings, greetings. Those 3 leverage lifestyle practices that give you something back for the investment of your time, energy, and attention, especially while here on the internet. Those lifestyle practices are peaceful consumption, food that loves you back, aka food that your cells can recognize, that your skin and your colon can recognize. Foods, nutrients that don't deposit a whole lot of waste on your waistline. So I have a way of communicating where I like to communicate, to draw pictures and to make things very, very simple. That's what my grandma Lou, what she did for me. I find that can be perhaps a shortcut so that it doesn't have to take us 10, 15, 5 years to really experience some tangible transformation when it comes to healthy bodies. And by the way, our bodies are highly intelligent. Our bodies know how to adjust to a natural healthy weight, know how to clear the skin. Our bodies, our liver, our organs are having a communication with us all the time. So I can share with you some of my experience. However, you'll have to have your own experience and find your sweet spot. If you are happy and you feel like you're operating at a 10, then keep rocking with what you've got. I'm not the food police. I'm not the hair police. I'm one woman sharing my experience. You're always welcome to share respectfully in the comment section. So we've got those 3 lifestyle practices. Garden therapy is included in there, peaceful consumption, and cultivating, reactivating, or refining a personal movement practice. These are 3 pillars of deposits, a big health deposit. There's medical insurance. Yet these lifestyle practices are tangible health insurance so that you can have some degree of say over what your body will be able to do for you, how it will be able to perform for you the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Things are likely going to happen. Yet, the old saying we all have to die of something, some way, is really a cop out. My perspective, it's a cop out. That has a whole tone to it. So I invite you to listen to the tone of your communication, of your communications, of the communications of those that are looking to extract something from you, whether that's engaging in your body parts, whether you giving them money, a vote, anything. I invite you to consider the tone, the undertone of what's being communicated. In the same vein, I invite you to consider, rather than making ourselves bad, wrong, shaming ourselves or others, I invite you to consider the tone. What is really being communicated by acne? I'm someone that's had an avid amount of acne and scarring and pimples and blackheads. What is the communication? What is that telling us? I invite you to tap into your own divine, onboard, innate intelligence, which each and every one of us were born with. Yet literally there is so much noise. There's so much competing for the real estate of our brain space. There's literally like we can't hear. And now our ears are untrained, our eyes are untrained to see what's really there. And so, I just think it's interesting, and this is part of the conversation this morning, is being freed up. I think, and you let me know what you think, or maybe, this is something people want to keep private. I think many of us are actually feel shameful about the aging process. I think we feel like I realize there's a sense of fear and shame. I think it exists, although it may be expressed a little differently. I think that it's there for men and women. There's a lot of shame. There's so much we hear, so much information. This is the information age. So a lot of information, a lot of it is flying around on the internet at such a speed that I don't think we take the time, or are we able to really process it and take what's needed and apply the rest. I think it's really get rid of the rest. I think it's really easy to get distracted by all the different personalities. Yeah, it's like we're running out of town, but that's a poverty. It's fear based, and it's something I mention a lot on this channel. There's something I mention a lot on this channel. I'm a very simple person. Simplicity works. I'll take principles and patterns over people. That's even over me. Patterns, observe the patterns and the principles over the people. That can save us so much time, so we're not so distracted in our judgments of folks. And at the same time, it's not black and white. We need to use our judgment, aka discernment. That is different, or it's a different context. It's in contrast to condemning and being condemning. What's that going to do for us, right? Healthy boundaries will keep us out of there. Yet discernment, to be judgmental, is critical. So that's just one small example of how we're constantly on the whole stroll of every politician, pimp, predator product that comes out, like we're dizzy, like we can't even think straight. So anyway, there's this woman that just, people just, things pop up on your feed. I think part of it perhaps can be, if we're looking for distraction, pleasure, information, things pop up on our radar. So this woman popped up today, and like, oh my gosh, she's such a breath of fresh air. Now, some folks have said I'm a breath of fresh air. If I left to my own mind, there's so much that I realize that I hold back, that I don't share on YouTube because of the climate, because many of us, if not a majority of humans walking around, we're all easily triggered. I'm crystal clear on this at this point. We're very sensitive. We're easily triggered as a result of having been on the receiving end of trauma, and a lot of the trauma is unprocessed. Add to that a climate where a lot of trauma is, we're desensitized to it. It's made fun of, it's made light of, so we're going with groupthink, we want to be accepted, so constantly we're allowing other folks to invalidate ourselves, and we're invalidating ourselves. It's so many layers that it is dizzying, and it can render us paralyzed in rumination, thinking, obsessing, acquiring more information, more information, more things happening, and we just become frozen in paralysis, not knowing what to do. So we do nothing but grab some snacks, raw, vegan, keto, and just straight junk, and otherwise, whatever label you want to put on it. We grab some snacks or some alcohol, some other substances, and we numb out to make ourselves feel better artificially and chemically in our brains. And it's more, so I invite you to consider, right, the desire or the goal is to be effective. So the language that we're using, we're being moved all over the place with language. So we can't really lie to ourselves or our subconscious. Most of our repeated actions over and over and over, science has demonstrated. Even if you don't have science, if we were to step back and follow ourselves with a camera, a lot of thoughts we have today, we had yesterday. And the tone of our thoughts, the way the thoughts feel, a lot of it is repetitive. So a lot of us are kind of like stuck on a spectrum of varying degrees, in particular when it comes to being fully self-expressed, executing things that we would like to experience while here on this earth plane. There are a lot of ways that we are unknowingly or fearfully holding ourselves back. So the 5 basic human fears, some people say there are more, 5 basic human fears. And just listen. You don't have to take them off the sides, but just run them through your divine internal intelligence. Fear of poverty, fear of death, fear of old age, fear of loss of love or never finding love, fear of criticism, And initially, I remember years hearing about these things. It seems so illogical. Like, why would somebody be fearful of criticism? Yet, in our quiet moments, a lot of these things we're thinking a lot of times superficially. So it's not really landing. Yet, in our quiet moments, if we can observe self-sabotaging behaviors or knowingly putting ourselves in harm's way, or a tremendous amount of cognitive dissonance when it comes to getting into action around the things that we say we value, health, economics, gifts that we would like to express. If there is a big gap, if there's a big difference between what we feel we are called to do, what we know we should be doing, what we know what would be beneficial, and what we are actually doing, that is a red flag to ourselves. That's a clue. So I invite you to consider, for example, when we say, I'm guilty, making ourselves guilty or beating ourselves up with the subconscious, and it can have a reverse effect, right? Making people guilty, wrong, or the shame. The shame can render us, it can manifest as going to binge on more of a substance because we're not feeling good about ourselves. So I invite you to consider, and this is part of what we doing in coaching, but today I'm just moving on a vibe. Just wanted to come on and to share. I invite you to consider what kind of state of being, where are you at? Can you identify when you are in a state where you feel motivated to get into immediate action? You feel motivated to dance, to sweat, to exercise, to clean, to study, to go explore, to do something new. Notice, what kind of actions are you doing? Are you stuffed full of food? Are you not stuffed full of food? Are you rested? Did you see something? Was it some words? Can you note the patterns in your own psyche? Can you observe objectively what is the process of what's happening? Because there's a bazillion dollars for all companies to study human behavior and the psyche. And I think it's interesting how we can be on a whole stroll, again, with whatever the rhetoric of the hour. Let's not get it twisted. There are elements of universal truths in astrology and religion, all of that, things that human beings figure out. Yet at this time, if we are not acknowledging the manipulation and the gaslighting, one of the best clear terms to come out on the scene for us to be able to unpack and decode what's happening with us is gaslighting. If we are not acknowledging, or if we're in denial about the gaslighting that's been happening when it comes to politicians, pimps, predators, product peddlers, folks trying to get something from you, for us to acknowledge perhaps people in trusted positions, folks that we have trusted, right? Safeguarding our souls, our spirits, our trust, our secrets. It doesn't feel good to have to acknowledge that you have been gaslit, and different kinds of words have been used to trigger emotions and fear. And so we place our blind trust and we start repeating words and language that trigger us even further, or that render us in a space where we are not willing to take 110% accountability for our lives. And 110% accountability looks like getting into action, getting into consistent action, getting into action when we don't feel like it. These are principles. These are principles. So I invite you, if we just say we're guilty, I invite you to just consider another perspective. If we say we're guilty, then we are right. We're guilty of that. And that doesn't leave room for a lot of, it doesn't give a lot of momentum. Guilt, the word guilt, the acknowledgement of guilt, it doesn't catapult us into action. However, language, curiosity, acknowledgement, accountability, it's a different vibe. And so getting into action and gaining momentum to get into consistent action over the long haul is where the results are at. That principle can be applied to anything, improving your eating, your health, your trajectory for your life, wherever you are. are. So that shame. So let me shout out this woman this morning. I think her name is Shonda. And however this woman came up on my feed, she's rocking, her little fro with her shrinkage. And many probably would not consider her classically attractive. Chocolate sister, actually she is attractive. We're all attractive at our most healthiest. So anyway, she's got her tats. She's very a little country, down home. She's got her little vanilla boyfriend. But just her energy, she doesn't have her teeth. Sometimes she wears her teeth or she doesn't wear her teeth. And just her level of comfortability with herself. She was a blessing this morning because she is right on point doing what she's supposed to be doing. And sometimes initially we might laugh at people like that. Oh my gosh, they're going to come outside looking like this, looking like that. She don't have her teeth in her mouth. But her level and degree of laid backness with herself, which, she was talking about, folks shaming folks that decide not to have children, not to have any more children. She just helped something click. It's not something I wasn't aware of, but on a deeper level. She freed me up today. She made something just click. I realize it's such a deep level of shame. And even after all these years, there's so many layers to unpack, which is why I like to stay humble to the best of my ability and curious, to stay curious. I realize there are such levels of shame. For example, I really like my hair. I love my hair. I smile at myself sometimes in the mirror, but I still catch myself. And it's, yes, you familiar with her? Right. So you see how you say you love her? That's an energy. She has an energy. And so whether that is in this particular period of the quote unquote, some self-proclaimed hoes or sex workers, there's an energy today of whether it's our fluffier women or folks that may have disability or their bodies are shaped out of what is common. Her level of comfortability in herself is, I realized you can have on 20 tons of makeup, you can have a buff body. I know from being in the fitness industry, you can have a buff body, a six-pack, you can have money. Let's look at the young woman who walked out of a building and unalived herself. You could have everything, stunningly gorgeous, lawyer, money, family's accomplished. But the shame is, and guilt is powerful. And a lot of these things we just repeat and it just rolls off the tongue like it's nothing. It rolls off the tongue. There's such deep levels of conditioning. And then when we endeavor to explore and to investigate all this information and this knowledge, I keep hearing the word knowledge, information, it's just thrown around, and you're looking for freedom, or you look to acknowledge somebody that put you on to something. It's like we're on a whole stroll yet ago. We go from this preacher to this preacher to this pimp to this guru. They might have information, yet we put them on a pedestal. Human beings with flaws. And part of it is a lot of it is coming from us, the need to continuously do that. It kind of lets us off the hook of accountability. Because when you are really sovereign, again, these are words that we throw around. How can we be sovereign? Yet we're irresponsible with these bodies we have been gifted. We're irresponsible here, yet we want to take on the lives of small children, little human beings. Which, if we're really honest, a lot of times we're not ready for it. Females and males, we're not. We're saying a lot of times as women, we're saying the things that we think is the right answer. We want to always have, I've been there, we want to have the right answer. We want to be the star student. So many of us may be agreeing and say that we want to be married and may not. We're saying because of the idea or the concept. We're enamored and we've been sold this fantasy of what the concept of it is, but have no idea of what we're getting into. Many of us have not done pre-counseling. Many of us are not prepared in terms of, and then we get these excuses or these communal, society-wide excuses and groupthink. Well, there's never going to be a perfect time. But there's no responsibility, accountability in terms of preparation and safeguarding. So should things not work out as you had intended, that your life and securing your trajectory into the future for yourself and perhaps both parties is secure. So we're not leaving ourselves out there. It's not hard to program and to influence and to trigger human beings. It's just not. At this time, it can be seen. Yet we can't seem to. We don't seem to be willing to shake this fear of being sovereign, of perhaps, and this may not apply to you, admitting that nobody really knows, no one that we know has come back to tell us what it's like on the other side. So there's that fear of death. We are all, if you get the best surgeons, some of my clients have had the best surgeons for alterations to their body. Even with the best alterations, it's still going to fall. With all the living foods and exercises, this body is going to go back to dust, and it will reach a peak and it will start to decline with the best care. So we will take off this suit called the body. We're all going to DIE at some point. These are primal fears, and not acknowledging them holds us captive. So if this woman was ashamed about her teeth, folks would easily be able to go online and just rag her and drag her. But her level of relaxation and ease, oh my gosh. When you see somebody, how can I say it? Her presence reminds me of Grandma Lou, is in such sharp contrast to the amount of worry about my edges. Oh my gosh, my edges. Oh, what's my hair gonna look like? Oh, I can't get it to do this. That's a lot of worry and anxiety. There's a tremendous, almost unending tidal wave of constant worry and anxiety about what we look. So we are almost human battery packs, working away all our precious money for more clothes. And there's nothing wrong with being creative and clothing. I'm not saying that. Yet it's the undertone, it's the worry, the anxiety of not being chosen. A lot of relationships and still not happy. Even if you don't know everything, something is off. So we're not really encouraged and to call and acknowledge these basic fears, right? We're giving stories and myths that we hope we hope they're true, to try to assuage and to soothe our fears. Yet it's something else to realize maybe all of our teeth are going to fall out one day. And then what? Men folk out there, at some point you're going to get erectile dysfunction. Especially, if you're abusing your body parts. Your breasts are going to change shape with or without surgery. Muscles and faces, they're going to fall. It's going to happen. You're going to experience pain. At some point, you're going to experience some unthinkable pain, and perhaps in your senior years. It's going to happen. Many women have no clue what's going to happen in menopause. There's so much conversations that are not being had. It's a lot of ego stroking and very superficial conversations that are not preparing us for what's to come in the future. And I'm not saying this for us to be on a fright and fear tip, because there's an overabundance of paralyzing fright and fear. Yet, as I like to say, call the fear by its name and release power over you. Even some folks that have been in very healthy, beautiful relationships, those relationships can come to an end after 25, 30 years. But then it's the fear and the shame. It is very easy for us to be controlled externally by fright, fear, and shame, and also for that aspect of our mental conditioning called the ego. To be controlled by the ego, just internally, it's programmed to shame and fear us into paralysis. Which leaves us also, maybe we shouldn't even call it like a vegetable, because that's an insult to vegetables, but leaves us rendered just stagnant. So shout out to Miss Shonda. She don't even know. She's a blessing. And if you look at just energy patterns, if you were to look down in the comments, folks, I love your energy. I love your energy. Oh my God. What is the energy? Part of it is her lack of shame. It's her comfortability with herself. When no one can shame you for your past, does this mean you don't take corrective action and clean some stuff up? No. And we can see if we're key to the patterns. I'm wary. I don't know everything, but I'm wary of patterns. I'm wary of someone offering me, and a big time. Let me just tell you, I had a go-to Jerry Curl was junk food addict. I'm wary of somebody sharing a toxic treat with me, something that's going to compromise my motor skills, my ability to think very sharply on my feet. Someone telling me I love you, I love you, I love you, and it's not weighted in actions, or if they don't know me. I couldn't articulate this as clear in my teens. I've had enough life experience to be able to have a lot more of a vetting process. And this applies to men and women because, hello, whether you're male or female, we give birth to both. So if you plan on ever engaging with a human, they have parents, we come through both. If you plan on whatever your identification is, if you plan on being a parent or being in a relationship, we come from both energies. So I don't know, there's a peace. There has to be at some point a peace with yourself and your own parenting energies. Perhaps an acknowledgement that at some point as a grown adult, you're responsible to reparent yourself because we came through flawed human beings. And whatever happened to you, whatever you on the receiving end of, even if it was horrible, okay, and now I'm responsible for my life. At this point, I'm 110% responsible. So corrective action, if that person was unwilling or unable to do it, it's my responsibility, even if I expire in the process. See, these things free you up. Best for you to be freed up. For example, a lot of the solutions that we are given for, let's say, for example, addictions. So to move from one addiction to another, if you're on drugs or cigarettes, and then let me speak from my family pattern and history. To go, if you were able to get off the substance abuse of either the alcohol or the cigarettes or the other narcotics, and then it goes to food, which is still killing your organs. Some are more socially acceptable than the other. And it's almost like we can't fathom ourselves without addictions. And it's the common groupthink language. It's so normalized now. Expected, it's just expected. The medications, most of the population are, I was listening to some research the other day, and someone was speaking with someone who did statistics, and they had a job where they're working statistics or running numbers, something like it's not balanced. And how can we tell it's not balanced? Because if we're not motivated to get into consistent action, if we're not motivated with zeal, with joy, with fun, with curiosity, even if we don't think it's fun, with the fervor and our energy to get into action around the things that we say we value, that we want to experience in life, something is off. Something is off, because that energy, that fervor is being deposited somewhere. We're giving that energy away somewhere. Everybody is spending money on something, and everybody is spending the valuable, the priceless currency of your time and attention on something. So shout out to Miss Shonda, because her lack, or let me not say lack, it's not a lack, her absence of shame is very freeing. And it's not an absence of shame of flaunting, right? Everything is context. It's not an energy of shame of like, I did all this effed up stuff and I don't care. That's not the energy. She expresses a freedom. And I realized you could have all of this, you could be dripping with all the stuff and the degrees and accomplishments and still be in a prison. You can be in a beautiful setting and be in a jail and feel obligated to stay in the jail based on doing the right thing, so-called religious morals, already disinvested into it, and so we're paralyzed. Many of us are stuck. So she also just helped me. I continue, we're all on our own path, to continue to reflect on the whys. Why I love this hair so much. And I could shave this all off tomorrow, and I love my hair with a very, very short cut, but I'm going along for the ride to see what my hair does. I think from time to time what I like about freedom hair, and not being worried about my hair. for the most part. You know, there's something I would see Rastas do. So my family is Rasta coming up. And they say, there's a song called I'm Not Afraid to Shake Up My Knots. That's not Burning Spear. Anyway, it's called I'm Not Afraid to Shake Up My Knots. So just shaking up your knots, it's not just in rebellion to society per se, but your own ego's shame around what your hair looks like. It not fitting into other people's made up moving goalposts of beauty. Because this is it. It's very clean. They're all flat. It's a mentality, and to take your psyche back, to put some healthy boundaries around your psyche. That's the, at least for me, that's the intention. And it's so affirming and confirming when you should spot it on the radar. When you see somebody else that's freed up like that, right? When you see that reflected in somebody else, it's like it's a confirmation and an affirmation. So, you know, she didn't have her teeth. And she said, this is why I ain't got no teeth. She said, I didn't brush. She didn't even dress it up. I found her hilarious. I just found her so freed up. I found her personality so much more attractive in the moment, much more attractive, I have to say, and I love femininity and the femininity channels. But in that moment, I found this woman, Shonda, much more free than the energy that I feel in all of the femininity channels. I've gone to Ophelia DeVore, one of the first black charm schools. I like that stuff. I like flowers. And I also realize, and I've said this on this channel before, I think the last thing that we need is one more box, a vegan box, a vegetarian box, something that we're allowing someone else to put on us, a religious box. We've got one life. And maybe you want to get in a box and get out of a box, but just the limitations we put on ourselves. It's too much pressure. It's too much pressure. So shout out, she'll probably never see this video, shout out to Miss Shonda. She's having fun. She's living her life. She got her little vanilla boo. You know, just all of these things, you know, how you say that we got to have black love. It's like, it's so many different variations. I just don't have the time to be policing and micromanaging other people. She's living her life, missing teeth and her false teeth and all. Frida, I found her refreshing this morning. Refreshing. And when I can identify, right, I like to see what's the distinction. What I identify is the absence of shame. She's able to do her little jig, enjoy herself. Now, I haven't been there for all of, I'm sure she has some stories to tell. She tells her stories. I only just encountered her video today. But she's definitely affirmation for when you are on your path. You may get clues from other people. Ultimately, it's your path. If you want to wear a gold tooth, I've had one. A jerry curl, I've had one. Eat flesh, that's your beeswax. It's not mine. If you garner something of value from here, take it and run with it. You know, and there's some things that you may not know. You'll discover, you know, along in the process. But just not getting into action, not exploring, you'll never know anything if you don't try. You'll never reach another level of fitness if you don't get out there and risk looking so-called foolish or putting yourself out there, or risk not knowing the exercise. I remember back years ago going into the gym and read. You ever see somebody in the gym and they're reading labels on the equipment, how to use this machine, and you know you must think you look stupid around all the, you know, the avid gym goers. You know, sometimes you got to be willing, because everybody has to start somewhere, or not start at all. You'll just sit there with a victim mentality. And so Shonda, she got it. She got it. The victim mentality ain't got it. Whoever it's coming from, is such a turnoff, and we've all been there. It is so, and here's the thing I'll say also, because there's no need for us to shame ourselves, because I don't think that's the goal or the intention. We definitely don't, I don't think that's our intention. That's what we want to do with our children. I don't think that's what we want somebody to do with us. Two terms, perhaps something to investigate. One is catastrophizing. Catastrophizing. That's number one. And number two, helplessness. And you can let me know if these bring up anything, stimulate any thoughts for you, right? Because I know my desire, someone that's a mother, we give birth to boys, girls, that have nieces and nephews. So as much as it's all this, I feel like there's a lot of instigated instigated fighting. And if folks could calm down, if we weren't so triggered, and hear ourselves, we're sounding kind of crazy. We are sounding really nuts. We cannot be here, right? And I'm not telling anybody, I don't care what people do in their bedrooms, I just get it, folks to say it. But we're sounding crazy, the amount of venom that we're spitting at each other. Because it all lands, what levels the playing field is accountability and responsibility. That's enough to make us all shut up and go to our little corners, do an assessment, and get about the business of that garden, your personal movement practice, and your peaceful consumption. And some decluttering. Accountability and responsibility kind of shuts all of that down. That's the one thing from all the different camps. Everybody calling themselves all these different labels, and we're, playing dress up and being creative. I don't hear that really coming from any of the camps. Because if you're focusing just on personal accountability and responsibility and corrective action, that's enough to keep us busy. That's enough to keep us busy. And it feels better. But we're just allowing ourselves, maybe perhaps unknowingly, we're allowing ourselves to be pandered to by personalities. We like their skin, if they've got a body, if they've got a singing voice or athletic ability, or if they're a movie star. We just give a pass for any old thing. And that's dangerous. But it's something that we are allowing. Why? Why are we giving such access to the unvetted, people who we do not know, beyond these little screens, who we have not lived with extensively? Because it's representing something for us. It's representing perhaps how much I figured out at this point. Hopefully this is making sense to you all. Because I would dare say that, getting really, really clear is going to save us a lot of time and help us be much more effective and get into action around the things that we say that we value and being effective. I know my desire is to be effective in fitness, in finance, in parenting, in my relationships. Definitely when it comes to executing the things that are necessary so I can have the experiences that I would like to have before I lay down my coat called the body, which I'm going to do. I'm going to do that. I'm going to expire at some point. So that's a good use of my time and my energy. So I'm aware that a lot of this triggering and pandering to distraction is going on. I'm aware that it's extremely enticing and hypnotic, even to me. I'm not a saint. I work on and strive to have a level of awareness so I'm not slowly enticed and pulled in, So it's really something to start to cultivate an awareness, and I found that is going to require observing without judging in the sense of condemnation, though judging from discernment and curiosity about why we do the things that we do. Why do we self-sabotage, males and females? Why would you put your reproductive organs with the amount of information harm's way? Yet many of us have been here on a spectrum to greater or less degrees. We're making life-altering decisions. Decisions that are altering our lives and the lives of other human beings that are coming along. And then we act surprised at the level of narcissism that we see. And we're contributing directly or indirectly to it. So a lot of this I find is very connected and shows up in our consumption patterns, in the state of being, the way we are feeling when we are eating. Most folks will come to a personal trainer or a nutrition coach for more exercises and a diet plan. Though I can tell you after several decades, it's much, much bigger. Because even with whole living, fresh, unprocessed foods is huge in a toolbox. It can really get you to another level. I don't think it's the final destination, right? There's other things to unpack. However, not being addicted to substances masquerading as food will put you at another level of being present and aware. Because when you're not hungry and your cells are satiated and your digestive system, your elimination system is moving, you can start to notice that a lot of your consumption patterns, like, wow, I'm reaching for that, but I'm actually not hungry. I'm very satisfied. So you can start to notice the triggers, and you can get some space in between yourself and the programmed autopilot behaviors. All three of the movement of those leveraged lifestyle practices. They're simple. I didn't make them up. I don't own them. I just put my own little language on it, right? That is very helpful. Language is helpful. Peaceful consumption. Doesn't need a label. Makes perfect sense. Why we want to be violent to the pituitary gland, to the liver, to the thyroid, to the stomach, to the heart muscle, right? So it can start to like, wow, I'm only focusing on the skin and the muscles. And reproductive organs, when there's so much more. So language can really be key. Whole, fresh living foods is key, huge in your toolbox. Your movement practice is one of the biggest things that you can do for yourself for health insurance and to give you access to freeing up a lot of stinking thinking, repetitive autopilot thinking. And then garden therapy can help you reconnect to your natural common sense, not reliant on politicians, pimps, predators, and product pushers. That's just my little perspective. So shout out to Shonda today for being such a great example of, and I'm sure she's along her journey. If I met her today, I'm sure she would say, I'm a work in progress. But just an example of being comfortable in your own skin. I think that is what I would call beautiful, in addition to health. That is beautiful, more so than just, all right, our eyes are so clouded. We've gotten so used to so many additives that it's becoming like we can't take the sight of ourselves or other people with what we actually look like. That's actually kind of nuts. That's actually kind of nuts. So, it reminds me of years ago, I just took I didn't have a lot on, but I took off all jewelry, all earrings, and my little mascara just to sit with myself for several years. I didn't put anything on, just to watch the internal dialogue of how I'm not saying that you have to do this. This is something that I've done, and I do it periodically. I don't wear much. Every now and then I'll put a little mascara. So it's not, but even then, if I feel any guilt or shame, I don't need to feel guilt or shame around being creative. If there's something I want to do with my body. But I also know for me, there's something about me sitting with myself. Really, I know we say we don't care about other people, but really, it's not that I don't care. We're prioritizing feeling comfortable in my skin and training myself to appreciate my divine packaging has been huge in my toolbox. You'll get to say what your process looks like. You may come up with something that is totally all yours, right? It's your responsibility to write a prescription for what's healthy and what feels fun and vibrant to you. So I'm sending you all some warm, positive vibrations. I've been posting some of my vintage footage on Kwasa with a K, Peaceful Eating on TikTok, and trying to see if I can get them to upload on YouTube as I wait for my computer to be repaired. So I've been having to work around my device, being creative with this phone, which I just got fixed. So I dropped it in the garden. They got to come up with something better because I'm always in the garden and I'm very active. So I have dropped the screen. They know you're going to drop the screen. I have dropped the screen more times than I can imagine. So feel free to check out Whole Living Foods in the Hood. That is a guide to whole, fresh, living, unprocessed foods as a lifestyle. It's not a diet. Not a diet. It's a beautiful thing to not have to be concerned anymore about diets. Last thing on my mind is a diet. Not concerned about my skin. I don't have to wear makeup. That feels free to me. I can play it if I want to, but I like feeling my own skin. So check that out because it's movement, consistent movement practice and sweating safely and vigorously, and fresh, whole, unprocessed foods. That's what cleared my skin up, not products. The products are the food. And there's also, if you're interested in dramatically downsizing or perhaps getting rid of your shower caddy with all those products, there's a workshop that is available on body-culinary.com. There's Healthy Eating for Men. That workshop is online. And if you're living this lifestyle off-grid or not, Emergency food preservation, right? If you're buying a lot of food in bulk and you want to see how to minimize your food and also be prepared in case of an emergency, that is a workshop that is also on Body-Culinary. If you're interested in coaching, reach out to me, info@body-culinary.com. Let me know how you found me. What else? Harriet squats. That workout is at 5 a.m. 5 a.m. sharp. And it's a lot of coaching also for those folks that have concerns about your shoulders, your lower back, and your knees. We do a lot of coaching, corrective exercising, so you will have a solid foundation and not jack yourself up. Bring your heart rate monitors and all those fancy fitness trackers so you can start using the things that you've already invested in. And I think that's about it. So, also Flower Fit coaching and community. There's a community aspect. Fill out the application, and the app is Discord. It's the Body-Culinary server on the Discord app. You'll need to download that. Fill out the application. If there has to be an application and an email to match a name for me to give an entry for community, and then also there are the classes, and there's life coaching and group coaching if you're really wanting to dramatically and safely and sustainably change your lifestyle to a healthy lifestyle. So you can take that off of the table. Reach out to me, bodyculinary.com. Create a great day on purpose, and I'll see you soon.